Hey guys, what's up? This is Publik back with another video. So today we're going to go over what Warcraft logs can do for your team. I know logs are kind of this somewhat controversial topic, kind of with Sims as well, but at the end of the day, if used effectively, especially from a raid leading or officer perspective, it can really help you tailor your raid members and just really see how you're doing as a guild. So today I'm just going to kind of go over the do's and don'ts as well as some of the things to look for in logs from more of an officer or raid lead perspective. So if you're not familiar with Warcraft logs, it's a tool that can be used by any player to essentially log a team's performance. So there are various tools you can do to do this. It all involves, they have a little tutorial on their website. If you just, once you're logged in, if you can check out their forums, they have a bunch of stuff over there about it. But the idea is you can hit this Get Started button, and there's a huge display on how to get started. Not going to cover that here. This is kind of assuming it's already started, or you're just getting into it just to get the basics of what Warcraft logs can do. So the first thing that we're going to cover is things to look for on an individual basis. So one thing to look at, and again, this is a bit controversial, is looking at rankings. So rankings tell you good things and tell you bad things. If you're just looking, so this is the Hellfire Citadel rankings for Mythic HFC in pre-patch. You can see it's just the default right now. So if you're looking at this and you're not a Mythic raider, you're going to get bad information, or information that isn't necessarily relevant to you. So I highly suggest if you're a normal Mythic whatever raider you are, dial that in here. And to go even beyond that, if you know your item level too, I would even dial in that even farther, especially if you're not in the top end, because a player that has 740 gear is going to have a different build, different gear, different rotation even than someone that has like 690 item level. And the same will be held true for Legion as well, so kind of keep that in mind. This is very much subjective. This isn't like an end-all be-all. You want to look for guides if you're unsure about how to play a spec, and then come here to kind of fine-tune it on a fight-by-fight basis. So I play a Shadow Priest for Exiled Power. That's what I will be maining in Legion. So just for the sake of this test, we're going to look at Shadow Priest since that's something I'm pretty familiar with, and then we can go from there. So when I dial in Shadow Priest as a Mythic top end raider, I'm comfortable leaving this as Mythic and then for all item levels because I am raiding at that top end. And let's just say I want to get better for pre-patch, so let's just for that sake. So the nice thing, Warcraft logs recently updated, they show you the top talents for that fight, as well as the talents and trinkets that they're using on a fight-by-fight basis. So Hellfire Assault isn't really a good fight to look at baseline, but let's say that my guild is struggling on Archimonde, on Mythic. This is kind of a neat little thing you can do. You can see, so let's see. Looking at our kill times, I know that my guild kills it between 2 and 3 minutes. So I want to make sure that I'm looking at kill times, which you can see over here as a duration, because the duration of a fight is going to change what you're looking for. So you want to make sure that duration kind of matches yours. And then kind of same thing with item level. So these guys are at like 740, high 730s, which is around where my Shadow Priest is. So I know that ish we're in the same kind of realm. Looks like they're still updating. If some people have older logs, you can't see exactly their talents and trinkets yet. Hopefully that'll be fixed come Legion. So I'm looking here, and a lot of people are using Orb of Void Sight, which is the heirloom trinket. The kill times are short enough to where they're using Sandman's Pouch. Some people have Chipped Soul Prism. So it's kind of across the board. So you kind of want to look at this from a perspective of what are most people using. Just for you can do translation stuff, but just to save time, I'm going to limit this to just the United States region, just so I don't have to convert the language in Warcraft logs. So let's just go ahead and look at the top 3. This is what I usually do, because you can look at these averages saying the top trinkets are Orb of Void Sight and Chipped Soul Prism, but that might kind of skew some things just because a lot of people might be using Orb of Void Sight, but they might be pairing it with a different trinket, and the statistical analysis isn't taking that into effect. So kind of keep that in mind. Same thing with talents. Like if Surrender to Madness and Reaper of Souls is like that's the combo you go with. If Void Ray is showing up as the highest one, usually you wouldn't take Void Ray with Surrender to Madness. So you'll get these kind of inconsistencies with this. So I suggest you kind of drill down a bit further. So then what I do when I'm helping people look at logs or look at my own logs is check these top 3 parses. Again, assuming that the fight lengths are in what you're looking at and that kind of thing. Now, if you mouse over the actual spec icons, you can see all the talents for everyone here. So I can see that he took the Reaper of Souls Surrender to Madness build, which is a standard on most fights that are within this time frame. He's got 740 iron level, and I can see his gear that he's using. And right here you can see he's using Sandman's and Aura Void Sight. Okay, and he did considerably well. Obviously, this is the best parse for United States. So let's go ahead and look at the second log. So this guy, this kill time is actually a bit longer. So you see that kill time was about 240, and this one's about 340, 350. So considerably longer, about a minute longer. His build is actually almost identical though. So I know the talents pretty much don't stay across these two, which is a good thing. You want consistency. And here he's using the Orb of Void Sight and the Chip Soul Prism. That might be because the fight length got longer for him, so he's like, okay, I'm going to use this trinket instead. Okay, so now we're getting some more insight. And let's look at the third one to kind of drill down. So this is a 4-minute fight, so again, fight got even longer. The talent build is exactly the same, so I know that's probably, this is, at this point, looking at 3 logs in a row of around the kill times that my guild does, around my item level, this is probably going to be the best build if I can play at the same skill level. Okay, keep that in mind as well. And then let's look at trinkets. So he's using Chip Soul Prism or Void Sight. So again, this is only 3 logs. If you want to drill down further, you definitely could, and I think you should. And you can see just, okay, we had 2 out of 3 using these trinket builds, and probably because the fights were a bit longer compared to the shorter fight from the first log we saw. So that's kind of the stuff that you want to be looking for, is try to draw some consistencies. Don't just go off of, oh, this is what we should do, because as we drill down, this Orb of Void Sight Chip Soul Prism works for most occasions, but depending on your fight length, you might get different results. So like this really short 2-minute 40 fight, he used the Sandman's Pouch. So there's that. Now another thing to keep in mind, right, it's not saying that this is the end-all be-all to whatever you're looking at. Because if we just look at these top 3 parses, the only difference is like 3 to 6k DPS. Is that a lot? Kind of. But you have to keep in mind that a lot of people, especially towards the end of an expansion or end of a patch, are kind of doing things to cheese rankings. So you want to kind of keep that in mind too. So if you're asking, well, how do I look for that? How do I know if this log is kind of like a cheese log ranking? So if we drill down further onto this player, we can kind of see, we see his spells that he's casting, that kind of thing. Usually you'll see people cheesing stuff by just targeting ads and not focusing priority targets. So if we change this to done by ability to done to enemy, I can see his breakdown. So I can see on this particular log on Archimonde, 99% of his damage is on the boss only. So I'm going to get a better idea that, okay, he probably wasn't cheesing. I mean, this is all priority target damage kind of thing. So you want to keep that in mind. So that's just something, as we get into Legion, look for these like indicators for yourself. But at the end of the day, you want to draw consistencies across the boss to kind of get you a personal look at what you should do with your build. So now, other thing, and that can be done, right? Even if you don't have a whole lot of knowledge with this class, you can kind of start to draw conclusions and consistencies. But at the same time, keep in mind, this is just a tool. It's not like this is the only way to do it, you know, because there's always different things to do. So the next thing I kind of want to look at is just looking at a specific log. So this is a log that we did when we killed Archimonde a few weeks ago. So let's kind of just stick with the Shadow Priest. You see I had a pretty good pull here. So a lot of things, if you have a raider on your team that you think could be doing better, or you think one is doing better than another, the first thing that I would look at for most classes is uptime percentage. So most classes have some kind of a dot or a buff or a debuff on the boss that they need to be putting up as much as they can, close to 100%. So like rogues will have Rupture, Shadow Priests have Shadow Word Pain and that sort of thing. Affliction Warlocks have their dots, Immolation for Dustro. I mean, almost every class has something that they can be using. So that would be the first thing that I would look at. So on this fight, my Shadow Word Pain uptime percentage, which you can see on the right, is 98%. all things considered, that's pretty good. If you want to even drill down further and just look at when I cast Shadow Word Pain, you can see that there's a lot of targets here. And again, let's just check out Archimon. It was just in the 98%. This is all the damage from the ticks going off. So you can see that's what you want. You want high 90 percentages for most of this stuff, because that's where the Mythic Raiders are. So if one of these was at like 85 or even below that, then you know that's an easy point of improvement for a class. That, hey, this is a free spell. You can cast, at least on one target. Make sure it's on at least one target. So that's kind of the first thing you want to look out for. The other thing that you can look for is buffs. So every class has usually has some kind of buff that they need to manage. So something you can look at is saying, an easy one is, okay, what about potion use? On every fight, you should be using 2 potions. One before the pull, and then one sometime during the pull. So you see here, these are my 2 potion uses. So if you see a raider that only used 1 potion throughout the fight, there's more DPS that they can add. So it's something easy to look for. Other things is just checking out, just trinket procs, that kind of thing. Are they using cooldowns during Bloodlust effectively? And this is where it kind of gets to the specific class knowledge. So you can see for Shadow Priests, to do better, I know based on reading guides and things like that, the longer that Shadow Priests are in Surrender to Madness, the more damage that they're going to do. Pretty much. So here I can see that I cast it at 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and it lasted all the way to the end of the fight at 4 minutes and 43 seconds. So that's my uptime, which is about 40% of the fight. So if I look at another parse for a Shadow Priest, and his uptime is an extra minute, or extra 2 minutes more than mine, which I don't think that's theoretically possible, but let's just, for giggles, then I know that, okay, there's probably something he's doing differently that could be better. So something to look at then is one feature that Warcraft Logs does really well. They have this compare feature up here. So I can say I want to compare myself, and yeah, we can just leave the default options. We'll go off at damage, and then we'll search. Oh wait, I need to do. Sorry. Put myself in there. We'll go search. Okay, so then Warcraft Logs is going to search for similar parses. So kill times are almost exactly the same. Trinket use, I use Ship Soul Prison or Void Sight here, so you see we got 100% match, so that's what we want. So, oh, that's myself. That's pretty funny. I think it's just a different parse of myself, so, which is pretty funny. Let's just look at that. This is another parse. I think this one, is there a date for this? Probably not. Let's look at this one. So now I'm comparing myself side by side to a different parse. So the biggest thing you want to look at, make sure the kill times match up. So it looks like the kill times are a bit different. So I'm just going to drag this over to match the kill times. What I want to look at now is cast count. So I want to see, okay, in the same timeline, how did I do with my casts? Because if you can see the one on the left, I did a little bit more damage, not too much. Typically you'll see more, like, bigger differences. So let's take Void Bolt for example. Even if you don't know what Void Bolt is, on this parse I did 79 casts. That one I did 79. It means I was pretty consistent in how I casted that, which is good. This one on the left, you see I had 14 Mindbender casts. Over here I only had 13. So it makes sense I did a little bit more damage. So you can kind of see, these were matching up almost exactly. 39, 39, 68, 60, almost to the T, I got the exact same pull out of this. Which is pretty cool, right? You want to see that consistency as a raider. But if, for instance, I looked at, let's go back a little bit. So if I go back to the comparison, and let's take another parse where they use the same trinket setup that I did. Let's take this guy, for example. So on this pull, I actually did better than this person. I had 31 million damage. They only had 29 million. So if we look at the differences here, I cast... Let's make sure fight times match up. Very important. So over here in this time period, I cast Void Bolt 79 times, while this Charina person only cast it 61 times. So, and that is that's almost 20 Void Bolt casts throughout the encounter. Same amount of time, same trinkets. I think the build is exactly the same as well. So you can see that's a big point of damage right there. So you want to make sure that those things line up. Again, Mindbender 14, 13, close enough. You missed one, that's okay. Mind Blast 39 versus 36. Not too terrible, but could be better. Shadowy Death, 19 versus 20. Pretty good. Shadowy Apparitions, so that's 91 versus 140. So right here I can make some kind of conclusions that maybe my gear is a little better because I got that many more crit procs. Again, this is just knowledge of how these spells work, which really helps when you're looking at this. So these are the kind of tools you want to look at. Just what are the spell casts, what is that looking like? And when you're in this comparison, you can do all kinds of stuff. The other big thing you want to look at is buffs. So let's take Twist of Fate, which increases your damage towards execute range. So if I had 68% uptime on this, and let's see what her uptime was actually 74%. So it looks like she had more uptime than I did, which is better. And then you can look at Trinket procs. This is a weapon enchant. You can look at that. Her Surrender to Madness uptime was only 33.23%. Again, same timeline. Mine was 38% almost. So again, I just got a little bit more than she did out of that. Maybe that made me better. Who knows? 2 potion use, which is what you want to see. Get that ring use, plus at the start. So you can start seeing these comparisons, and this is really what you want to look for if you want to get better either personally or just as a raid as a whole. You can drill down like this on every single player in the raid just to get that little bit more effective at this. Okay guys, so that pretty much wraps it up for Warcraft logs. Again, I do want to highlight, don't take what you see on these ranking pages to like end all be all. Really do your research on these guys, especially before you contact your raiders. A lot of people get kind of defensive when you come in saying, hey, the top 10 rankings for Mythic Warriors do X, Y, and Z. But you're talking to a normal raider. They're going to be like, yeah, they might say, yeah, I've already done my research, and that strategy is only effective at that gear level. I'm doing the best I can as a normal warrior. Be like, cool, I respect that. Let's check out normal warriors, see what they're doing. So always be very respectful, and as long as you're trying to help your team, there's always good that'll come out of it. So hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I've done lots of logging and simulation stuff in the past, so be happy to help out any of you guys. All right, have a good one.